242.
242. 235? 242, yes.
Thanks again on behalf of everyone. I appreciate you being here. One of the things that concerns me, you mentioned infrastructure. We have failing infrastructure throughout this country. It's well documented, our bridges, our roads. And it strikes me that I'm being chastised. It strikes me that this would be an opportune time, and I know the idea is...
to report to the main office. Martin reports to the main office.
Yeah, it wasn't my name. It strikes me this would be a great opportunity, and I know how difficult it is to get a bipartisan act through Congress at this time, but this would be a great way to fund those good-paying jobs, those family wage jobs, by funding these, similar to, say, the New Deal, just for lack of a better example. And your take on that, what it would take to make that happen. I just think it strikes me almost as a no-brainer.
Yeah, we are deeply underfunding infrastructure. A way to get a handle on that is to compare ourselves to Europe and say China. Europe is spending 5% of its gross domestic product, so 5% of its economy on infrastructure. China is spending 10% of its infrastructure, or its economy on infrastructure. I was amazed to visit Beijing 10 years apart, and Beijing went from bicycles to having a 200-mile-per-hour bullet train in that 10-year period, with incredible amounts of infrastructure all over the country. But we're not spending 10%, and we're not spending 5%. Anybody want to take a guess at what share of our economy is going to infrastructure? I heard half. I heard one. Well, two. Two is better than half, but it's certainly not 5, and it's certainly not 10. And we have a tremendous amount of infrastructure that was built after World War II that is reaching the end of its life. If you take water systems, for example, we still have water systems in Oregon that have wood pipes in them. We have the challenge of new water standards for clean water supply, wastewater treatment. We have growing populations or growing needs to supply water to industrial areas. And so there's a whole host of needs, and that's just touching on one aspect. So I certainly share your view that this is a huge opportunity, and it creates a lot of living wage jobs in the process, because the work is not outsourced. It's done right here. It's not done overseas. And this is also true for energy-saving retrofits on buildings. So I championed a low-cost loan program to work with our rural electrical co-ops called Rural Energy Savings Program, or Rural Star. And that is in the Farm Bill. It's passed the Senate twice. Hopefully it will come out. But it's another way to invest, if you will, in our building infrastructure and create jobs. And not only can you not outsource the labor, but the materials for energy-saving retrofits are made here in the United States, including here in Oregon, a tremendous amount of the insulated doors and windows.
Next number is 231-245, but first let's invite a student to come forward. And a student question, please.
We lost quite a bit of students to their schedule, but one, great.
There we go.
Maybe start with your name and what year you're in.
Hi, I'm Hannah Hopkins. I'm a junior, but I'm actually graduating early, planning to study abroad in Turkey next year.
Wow, so that's very unusual. How did you arrange that?
I took extra classes during the summer, as I also hold a job during the summer. But I have a question about the retirement for seniors. I am a co-president of Youth of Part of Hospice, which is a club here at our school. And I was reading your packet, and it said that you are against raising costs for seniors, and I like that a lot. Because I see a lot of seniors struggling, especially from this generation, who a lot of the women didn't work, and so they don't have Social Security. So there's no way to really pay for the medical costs, especially if their spouse is deceased. And so I just wanted to know how, more on the cost of living formula that you were going to change.
Yes, so this is a reference to a debate over something called chained consumer price index, or chained CPI. The word chained is, what is that? Well, if an economist was talking, they'd say, well, it's a substitution effect. It's recognizing that if bananas cost more, people buy more apples. However, when it's applied to senior programs, and what it really does is make the CPI, the Consumer Price Index, less accurate. Now, there's the most accurate is the CPIE, which actually measures what seniors buy. And so that, I've advocated for the CPIE to be adopted. Currently, the CPI we have is based on the entire economy and undercounts the cost to seniors. And the chain CPI would be even less accurate. So it's an accounting trick that shortchanges the commitment to our seniors, and that's why I oppose it. And supporting going the other direction, having more accurate consumer price index for our seniors. And we have to realize that key programs have actually had a huge impact on the poverty rate among seniors. Been a lot of discussion of the 50-year war on poverty, but Medicare and Social Security have made a huge difference in that. And in particular now, many of our regular economy jobs that used to have defined benefit pensions, so if you retire you'll get X amount per month, those are going away. And so it makes the Social Security, which is essentially a form of defined benefit pension, all that much more important in providing a foundation. Thank you. And so I have to ask again, I know you graduated early because you took extra classes, but how did you arrange to go to Turkey?
I'm going through a thing called AFS, who's been around since World War II.
Yes.
And I kind of have a friend, Mary McIntosh, who's in Norway, and we were just talking about it, and I was like, you know what, I really want to go to Turkey, because originally I was going to graduate early to get a head start on medical school. But then I was like, no, I would really like to spend my year doing something fun.
Well, so let me tell you, I was an AFS student in Ghana, in West Africa. And of the thousands of AFS students, only 6 of us went to Ghana. And 5 went to big cities, and I went to a little village. And it was an incredible experience, but only for a summer. And but I have a very good friend who did AFS in Turkey, who has been a lifelong, she has remained connected to Turkey. She goes back there every couple of years. If you pass on your name to Susanna, I'll connect you with her. It might create some interesting links for you. And have a tremendous time. It's very cool. This started actually, the AFS, American Field Service, started ambulance service by Americans in World War I. Conscientious objectors who then went to the war front and basically ran out on the battlefield to get the wounded help. And then after the war, the Germans invited AFS, the field service folks, over, or maybe the Americans invited the Germans first, and the Germans invited the Americans, and it became part of the healing process after World War II, and then led to this exchange program. So that's a pretty cool thing.
Next ticket numbers are 245, 232, and 229. Ticket 245.
Hi, I'm Eric Nurden, and I just had a question regarding trying to make what efforts are out there to make secondary education or college education more affordable. It seems like every time we turn around, we're hearing more about the cost of that and the student debt that's incurred. And I know that the community college helps a lot with that, but at the same time, are there any efforts at the federal level to help with that?
How many folks are concerned about the cost of college? That's most of us. It has gone way up in comparison to the regular economy, so it's that much harder, and it's starting to have a real impact on the way people view opportunities in life. We need to have an aspirational society. Now, my dad was a mechanic, and when I was young, he worked at a mill that's called a millwright. Later, he worked on major equipment, major machinery, had a very modest working wage. But when I was small, he took me to the schoolhouse doors, and he said, if you go through those doors and you work hard, here in America, you can do just about anything. And I thought that was really cool. And I kind of thought, well, maybe I could be an astronaut. That didn't work out. But now, folks are concerned that they're going to have a debt the size of a home mortgage without a job that can cover the debt payments, and that they'll be caught between lower wages and higher debt, and are